All right, we are in session. Welcome. Instructions on exiting the building in the event of an emergency. You can go out that door, you can go left, go out that door, go right. Number 2, agenda additions, deletions, changes in the order of agenda. I know staff had something you wanted to.
Yes, I'd like to propose adding one item to the agenda under other business, which is a de minimis application for a telecommunications facility to change from a little over 5 square feet to a little under 5 square feet. So you get public notice of it.
Sure. We'll add that at the end. All right. Open to the public for items not related to the agenda. I see nothing. Do we have anybody online?
We have Councillor Fitzgerald is online and Sue Ellenick is online.
Okay. All right. Announcements and staff report. Any commissioner announcements? No. Staff?
We put most of them in our agenda. I wanted to make a point to say a specific thank you to Helen for her service. This is her final meeting with the commission this time around. And
Thank
also,
you for all your service.
That Megan Emery, who's in the audience, will be joining you beginning with your next meeting. So she's been appointed, and Michael has been reappointed to an additional term with the commission. So thank you all for your current, prior, and future service.
All right. Everyone else, I'm assuming everyone else read the departure welcomes and then S325. Did you guys want to mention anything on that?
There's a lot that's in that bill. Not a lot of it affects us. The one thing that does affect us is a really beneficial thing administratively to us, where with Act 250 Tier 1A status, where we take it over, under the prior version of the law, as soon as we became Tier 1A status, we instantaneously took over administration and enforcement of all existing Act 250 permits. Now it happens one at a time as a property comes in for an amendment to the DRB. They get incorporated into their conditions from Act 250, get reviewed and potentially incorporated into the local decision, and then we administer it. So it's much more of a easing into it rather than here's 1,200 historic permits, have fun. So that's a very positive legislative change.
All right. Number 5, LDR amendment public hearing. I think the best thing to do would be do the public hearing and then we can do commissioner comments afterwards if we pick up any nuggets from the public. So I guess I need a movement to open the public hearing.
That is a good point.
What's that?
Did we warn it for 7:10?
Oh, did we? Oh, whoop, I'm sorry. Are we going too fast, Tim?
We usually budget about 10 minutes for the initial stuff.
All right. Why don't we do the other things on the agenda then?
Okay.
You can do minutes and your other business now.
Right on.
You had a couple of questions in the.
No, we're not going to get into those right now.
We'll do that afterwards.
We'll do that afterwards. Yeah. We have minutes from May 26th.
Yep, that's correct.
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Michael, can you make sure that you have your microphone on? I don't know if you had your microphone on when you said that.
I move to approve the minutes of May 26th.
What, John?
Before, I did have one minor correction on page 2, middle of the page. There was a comment that I made of differentiating between chipping and blasting, and what I said was the work on Park Road was not very disruptive. The work in Long Drive behind us was horrendous, but the recent blasting and the work that they've done on Park Drive was not terribly disruptive.
Okay.
So since it is,
so is that
right.
sorry?
Nope.
Is that just adding the word not?
yes.
Okay.
So we have a motion to approve the minutes as amended by John. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Paul, did you want to do what the other business was?
So the other business is telecommunication facilities in the state have the choice of going to the State Public Utilities Commission instead of through local review, and that's what this one proposed to do. It's a generational upgrade that just takes place pretty frequently with these. So the specific here is at 1200 Airport Drive, which is the airport, to replace two 5.12 square feet antennas with two 4.58 square foot antennas and minor supporting equipment. The overall height of the facility does not change, and the where in the height of the structure this thing is drops by 2 inches. So otherwise it is completely not noticeable. No action is needed from you, but because it is a state review, the Planning Commission has the ability to weigh in on it if it so chooses. Historically, with minor ones like that, the Commission is not.
It seems minor enough.
Anybody have any?
2 inches, that's pretty good. Or 4 inches, whatever.
So we do not need to take any action.
You
on
do
that,
not.
just- we're just aware of it. Okay. We're running out of things to do here.
Can we talk about your schedule?
Sure.
The next month or so?
Yeah. Yep.
So this is a 5 Tuesday month. So your next scheduled meeting is July 14th and then the 28th. I just wanted to check with commissioners, at least those who are present, and future commissioners, whether anybody's vacations will be leading us to having a quorum issue.
The 14th, I'm not here.
Okay.
Okay. I believe Jessica is back
14th?
then.
Yeah.
July 14th.
I'm not here on the 14th.
Okay.
That I know.
I'm okay.
I'm awake quite a bit in July. Let me see.
The 28th was the second meeting.
Yeah.
Yes.
I believe I am here for that.
But also welcome any from Megan in the audience. Those both are
Yeah.
good for you?
Yep.
Okay.
I will be here the 14th. I will not be here the 28th.
So I have no,
Yeah.
I have no Duncan on the 14th and no Donna on the 28th, but otherwise everyone who is currently here would be here. Not Helen. Yes, Megan.
I might not be around on the 28th. I don't know for sure, so I'd have to let you know. 14th
Okay.
is good though.
But you'd be able to let us know about a week in advance?
Oh yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Great. All right.
Should we sing a song or?
Who knows the song that is 709?
1709.
Yeah.
We're going to go to the letter of the law here. Tim, you want to get up and dance?
There we go.
I could change my what?
That would be legit.
Oh, 09. Okay, fine.
Oh, I'll add an announcement, I guess. We have been doing a infill housing series of events. We have been teaming up with Burlington, the 4 cities in Chittenden County, so Burlington, South Burlington, Winooski, and Essex Junction, and holding some events as a learn from your neighbor opportunity about building additional housing on your property. So ADUs, duplex conversions, garage conversions, attached, like adding additions to your home, things like that. In May, we held our first event in Burlington and about 35 people attended. And then yesterday we held our event here in South Burlington. It was in the library. And again, about 35 people attended with only 2 or 3 people that were overlapping between the 2 sessions. And that's not counting the panelists. Our housing committee members attended. So true members of the public was about 30 to 35 people at both events. So,
Great.
idea being sometimes you want to hear from the people who can speak from their experience and how things have gone for them and where the hiccups were and where they ran into delays or funding issues or, would they do it again and what are they doing with their unit now and all of that kinds of stuff. So it's been a really successful project for those couple events. And the intention at this point is to continue with further events likely in the early fall.
That's great.
I actually have a question for Paul. And
Sure.
I was curious, I'm noticing some activity along the Hill Farm.
Helen, is your microphone on?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I've noticed some activity on the Hill Farm along the interstate. I wondered if you knew I mean, they've been pretty quiet for a while.
I'm not aware of anything happening from the property owner.
Okay.
Certainly go take a look at it. It is possible the way you're describing it, it might also be V-Trans doing the
Okay.
maintenance. But thank you for the heads up. We'll take a look at it.
Okay, thank you.
Any nuggets that you wanted to share of what some folks who've done ADUs have flagged? Anything of interest to the commission specifically?
No, there's a bit in the number of South Burlington examples has been limited. Because it's a shared project. We've had examples in Burlington and Winooski and Essex Junction as well. They have flagged questions about electrical and about life safety codes and where do you even get the information about that. So there is some needed transparency for like directing people to the respective fire departments and doing that kind of work. But otherwise, it seems like people have been hung up mostly by getting the right tradespeople in the right places at the right times and being delayed in their construction because of that kind of logistical issue. But otherwise, they all seemed pretty happy about it. A self-selecting group, like willing to talk about their experiences on a panel, but a whole range of sizes from about 300 square feet to about 1250. And people in different settings of different kinds of homes that they were adding things to. And a really good range of things and some good nuggets of information about how we can be clear about where you get the information, where you get permits from, who do you talk to about certain standards, and being able to direct people to the right place.
That's great.
And it's now 7:13.
Yep.
Okay.
Right on. So again, try number 2. Do I have a movement to open the public hearing on the ELDR amendment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. We are in the public hearing. Could be the quickest public hearing ever.
All right, just so that folks are
you said we didn't really have who's online?
the folks who are online are ourselves and Elizabeth Fitzgerald and Sue Allenick.
I forgot there was 2 of us.
So you have a series of 8 amendments in front of you.
Mhm.
Happy to go over them, but also we don't need to be redundant to yourselves. So I would say, make the call as to whether, or specifically invite folks, and then if there aren't any, to feel free to close the hearing.
Well, you had.
Well, no,
Never mind.
you're not part of the public.
I am, but not
You're
tonight.
not here.
Not tonight.
Hearing no public comment,
Move to close.
I guess we would make a motion to close the. Yeah.
Move to close the public hearing on the LDRs published in the agenda for tonight.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So yes, there were a number of small changes that staff had highlighted for us. And I think maybe the best thing is if we just want to go down each one of them and if there are any
Sure,
questions
why don't I
on them.
put them up on the screen
Yeah.
for you then?
Yep. I mean, most of them were
Yeah.
pretty straightforward, but there is at least one that does require some discussion.
Yeah, and we wanted to err on the side of transparency with all of it.
Yep.
So
Page 14 of 296.
that's why we try to write a memo to make it as transparent as we can. So
So the first one is the trucking centric commercial, and I believe that was just a reduction in the overall square footage.
Yeah, so we had provided in the draft that was before the Planning Commission on May 12th that the thresholds were 100,000, 100,000 to 200,000, and then above 200,000 for the small, medium, and large. We had some further discussions amongst ourselves and looking at existing buildings, existing permits, and lowered those thresholds for the small to be 50,000 square feet, the medium to be 50 to 150, and the large being 150 square feet and over of building footprint. That was in your draft that you saw on May 26th, but we did not specifically highlight it. It was an oversight on our part to not point that out. It was redlined, but it wasn't specifically discussed. So we wanted to point that out and make sure that you saw it in the draft this time.
Right. And to be totally clear on that, the large at is not, there is nowhere in the city where the large is allowed. So that sets a cap. As a frame of reference, FedEx is about 140,000 square feet.
Okay. The second was zoning permits. And I think Kelsey, you had a pretty good description of that when you were
Yeah. So again, this is just adding the words "and continue." So the current language is all that's in black. The intention that is written that you have to commence your permitted project or have a good faith intent to commence, but it didn't say that you had to then continue doing stuff on your project. So hypothetically, 360 days after your permit was issued, you could go dig a hole and say, I am commencing my project, and then not do anything for an undetermined amount of time. So we're years. So we are clarifying that this means commence and continue.
But you want to know whether
So this is, you warned for public hearing, commence and continue, but it wasn't something that we
Specifically
with
talked
you
about.
So we wanted to
Okay.
make sure that you weren't playing a Where's Waldo of having to see that language, that wording was in there. So if you're not satisfied with it, this would be a great time to take it out. But if you're comfortable with it, no action is needed.
why are you recommending that we postpone?
We're
Why-
coming up to
we,
that.
we haven't gotten there yet, Michael.
Why not?
That's a different
Because
item.
we're finishing the previous item.
We're getting there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So zoning permits are good. So now we are on to the one Michael was asking about, certificate of occupancy.
Yeah, so this is really a question of this is a staff recommendation around capacity essentially. So we believe that this is the right thing to move towards, to require certificates of occupancy for single and two family homes. It is not something that we have done in the past. The prior draft, the draft warned for public hearing, did include it. We've had some frank conversations about where's our capacity, and there are some big variables coming up. I mentioned during our other business that we're going to be taking on Tier 1A. We think we know what that's going to be, but there's going to be a lot of bumps in understanding, what is the depth of Act 250 requirements, etc. We felt that we would not want to be in a position where we put in a policy and then we're asking to remove it, because that would create a lot of confusion. So what we're recommending is to essentially postpone this until the next round of amendments, when we will have had some more experience in understanding this capacity with Tier 1A. We're also have started a really exciting collaboration with the fire department of how we might be able to streamline some of our inspection services, because we both go out for all these projects that require COs. We started some conversations about what would it look like for an entity to be able to go out and potentially do both in some cases. So as we work through that, we're going to be able to have a much stronger recommendation on these COs at that time. So that's our recommendation and request.
Do you need a motion to postpone 2606?
If you'd like to take them one at a time, you can. If you'd like to do this as a group from this memo, you could do that also. I'll leave that to you.
Can I ask
Good.
a
Go ahead.
question, Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah, just how many people are involved in the inspection process now?
On the zoning side?
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, no, both.
so-
Zoning and fire.
So, because there's two different sets of ordinances. So, on the zoning side, our current staffing is our senior development review planner, our development review planner, myself. We did have an administrative person part-time. She left, and we are re-advertising the position. She was also authorized. Depending on the specific project, we might also bring in a different resource. So sometimes the arborist comes out and takes a look at something. Sometimes stormwater team from Public Works comes out and takes a look at it, because we're not necessarily experts in making sure that it was done. That's typically the crew from our side. On the over in fire prevention, there's an electrical inspector, and then there's a lead and a second person doing all the building safety inspections. and then there's a rental registry that's looking at rental codes. So that's the team over there, and they're both doing the issuing of the permitting and the inspections. So it's not just an inspection team.
And so maybe you can just briefly summarize, like, what are the additional Tier 1A,
Can you speak into the mic?
what are the additional Tier 1A processes that planning and zoning is going to
Sure.
be
So
involved in?
up until now, any project that went through Act 250 was required to get, or larger projects were required to get an Act 250 permit. That permit comes with it its own set of conditions. Some of them are overlapping, some of them are unique to Act 250. Under the new state law, the way that's going to work is that the next time that a given property comes into the city for an amendment, the planning and zoning staff and then ultimately the DRB will review all the existing conditions from all of the historic Act 250s. And then there are 4 criteria under which they can determine that it is no longer relevant. The project's been built. The city has a substantially similar condition and subject area of regulation. It's no longer germane for some other reason, and I can't remember what the 4th one is. I think it's it's superseded by another law, and so anything that doesn't fit into one of those categories then gets incorporated into the local DRB decision, and then it becomes ours to administer there forward. So if Act 250 said you must pay this fee at the 50th unit, then you must do it. Or if it said that every 3 years there has to be an update to the wetlands analysis or something, or whatever it might be. And so they're going to be case by case for us to evaluate them and then take on the responsibility of administration.
So this is just for existing Act 250 permits,
Correct.
and that's all you're taking on right now is the existing ones with
Right.
modifications.
And then in the future, there won't be an Act 250 for that project. This becomes a one-time transmittal to us.
Okay.
And
So
then,
I can see how that was very beneficial, this recent change.
right. And then we have to do some reporting to the State Land Use Review Board for every permit that we issue. Theoretically, if we do a poor job of it, it can be clawed back, but we wouldn't want to be in that position. But yeah, it's a big benefit to not take them all at once.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
about 1,200 total Act 250 permits that have been issued in our community, of which across 250 properties or so. So it's not, it's not every property. Some have got a whole bunch of them. But,
Well, then how many per year are you expecting?
to be determined. It won't, not every part of the city is eligible for Tier 1A. So our biggest Act 250 user is the airport. The airport is not eligible for Act 250 Tier 1A. So that's one big chunk. I think that's 200 of the 1,200 permits is just the airport historically. So I think we're expecting probably, it's hard to say, 15 maybe a year, but years go up and down. So
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to imagine. So it's just the accumulated workload of having to review everything that's ever been done on an act.
that's going to be the biggest part, is the first deep dive into that, and then once it's all in one place, it'll be a lot simpler. But each one will have that first initial one.
It'll
So
be very
that's why
interesting to. I mean, I personally think it'd be very interesting to hear, like when you go through the first one, how much time did that take, and what did you learn in that process?
So that's why we're recommending and requesting that we postpone this additional administrative task in the short term, though we do support the reasons for it.
Yeah. So it basically postponing it a year, right?
That's our expectation.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions on the certificate of occupancy? No. And performance bonds was a similar situation, yes?
Sorry, just clarification. Did we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Yes, we did.
Okay, who moved and who seconded?
Michael moved it, and I believe John
Helen.
seconded, or Helen seconded it.
Thank you.
All right. The next one is performance bonds. So in the draft that you warned for public hearing, there was a proposed shift in the timeline as to when performance bonds are owed to us. in the attempt to make it a little less onerous on developers. We got some additional feedback on it, and the solution that we had proposed doesn't really improve things. It's a deeper issue. The fundamental challenge, and not to go into a whole technical thing on it, but the fundamental challenge is that when a developer goes out for a construction loan, the bond amount, which is what they have to put up as insurance that they're going to finish the project, and the construction, what they're actually getting as a loan to build the buildings, is a singular thing.
Oh.
And so what they do with us is that as they build a part of a road, they get an okay from us that it's been built, that section of it, and then they're able to go back to the bank and say, now we can reduce our bond amount by a certain amount, and that frees up the ability to use that credit to then start to build the next building. Moving the line, so it's basically one pot that's always just playing against each other. Moving the start point doesn't really change anything because they have to get the loan up front anyway.
Right.
Anyway, so we're going to work on this issue some more, but in the time being, we're recommending to just keep the language as it is.
Okay. The next one was just a map
It is.
change. Yeah.
It's just a description of a map change.
Description of a map change.
So we had described the change from the HSMU area as being north of Williston Road to the west of I-89. When our GIS technician went and mapped the change for us, it turns out there's a little tail that is actually under the roadway of the jug handle. So next to the gas stations, the sort of one closer to Burlington from there, that was shown in previous mapping as being part of that zoning district. So this would be recommending changing the description to being along the Williston Road corridor west of I-89 to properly include that little tail that otherwise you can't develop as anything because it's currently a road, but just to completely cover what that change includes.
The next one was data centers, and that was pretty self-explanatory, but I don't know if you...
Yeah, so that was it's no change to the actual standard. It is just clarifying that the footprint could be inside a larger building. So instead of a standalone building footprint, it would be the footprint of the use, whether that was a standalone building or as a subtenant of a larger building.
Which in practice is how they actually exist.
Yeah.
The use of the word footprint can be a little confusing unless these are always one story.
They really are at this point.
And that's intentional language because from a land use perspective, in theory, if they chose to go up, it would not be land use intensive. They could go up more than one story. We have not seen one do that, but it would allow them to do that.
Okay.
And we've also spoken to stakeholders, and the technical limitations of a data center going up, especially more than 2 stories, start to get really onerous. So seeing something higher than that is really unlikely.
All right. Zoning permit, I think that was just a clarification, typo. And then building permit threshold requirement. I think that's where we were.
Zoning permit.
Zoning permit. Sorry.
Yeah. So
Sorry,
this
sorry.
was something that you all had a conversation about when you were leading up to warning your public hearing, and we wanted you to. Our sense was that you felt a little bit like you didn't totally have your heads wrapped around the subject. So we wanted to be really transparent about where this comes through, and then there was a conversation that you'd all had about whether replacement of doors and windows should require a zoning permit or not. And so this gives you the ability to choose to do that or not.
Any commissioner thoughts on that?
Well, okay. With reducing the cap.
So if
Well,
you
then I-
wanted to get rid of the doors and windows from requiring a zoning permit, you would basically just remove this text that's in the middle of the screen that's in red. But if you were okay with leaving it in, you just leave it as is.
And again, this is a replacing doors and windows in kind, not expanding anything, not expanding the footprint of the house. It's just
Right. So this
Not
would be
expanding
for
the footprint of the house is correct.
right. So this would be changing the size of doors and windows. Just replacing your actual window in its own existing frame would not require a permit. This is if you wanted it to be bigger.
Yeah. Okay.
Or smaller, presumably.
But again,
Right.
no extension of the footprint of the house.
Correct.
Is there a reason why we would want to require a zoning permit to change the size of your doors and windows?
So a couple of things that we thought about is primarily, at least this is how I thought about it. Primarily, a zoning permit is how your home affects others. So it's something on the exterior, or like where your home is located on the lot, or how many bedrooms there are, therefore how many people are kind of living there. So that was the original thought, is like, oh, you're sort of changing the outside of the house in a certain way. But the flip side is there are really no standards except in very specific situations, like in the form-based code or in some PUDs, that govern the amount of windows and doors and their size and location. There are life safety standards that are a completely separate thing. But as long as you comply with life safety standards, we don't have standards in our land development regulations other than in those particular instances that are specifically design related, governing this kind of change. So on the one side, it's like, it is the exterior and it changes a bit about how it looks. But on the other side, we don't have any standards telling you what you can or can't do about how it looks. So there is nothing for our development review team to deny a permit. It's just having someone apply for a permit. We know that they did a thing, so it's information. But what does that information give us? It probably doesn't change the value of the home. It probably doesn't change a lot about the home. And we don't have standards about what it looks like.
And fire
it will still have required a building permit for life safety things.
Right. And in most cases, I'm going to guess that a change in window dimensions is probably driven by a fire need, to have an egress window or something like that. That's when we most often see them without any other change.
Does the building permit also make sure that they've looked at the engineering? I mean, if you make window openings significantly bigger, you need to change your headers and all that stuff. Or just assume that they're going to do that. Is that not something that the city looks at and that falls on the homeowner?
I can describe the answer to that anecdotally, which is that in commercial buildings where we have been doing this for a few years, I've heard anecdotal stories of our building inspectors saying, I saw some odd things when they did that, and I let them know in the inspection that they couldn't do it that way. I don't know if that is practice or regulation. I can certainly follow up with you on it because I'm not an expert in the codes on that side.
Yeah. I mean, personally, if the fewer things we need somebody to come get a permit for, the better, as long as there isn't an overriding reason that we need to. So I would lean toward, if somebody wants to make their windows a little bigger, I'll make them bigger. But if we think there's a good reason to keep it in, then I can certainly be persuaded.
Now, the only thing I can think of is, as Kelsey said, there's a handful of circumstances, and it's specifically in our some of our commercial districts require a certain amount of windows, but that would require a site plan anyway. And so, because it's a building overall facade, in which case you've already getting a site plan, and then your zoning permit comes in anyway. So I don't think that there's any circumstance where there's a permitting need for it, where there's a benefit.
Yeah. What is the time frame? Somebody's doing a zoning permit, if they don't need a zoning permit, but they do need a building permit.
Yeah.
What amount of time, say, for a small commercial project, or
so if they need
or
a
even
building permit but no
residential
zoning
project?
permit, I think that the big difference is that zoning permits have an appeal period, building permits don't. So you could go in theoretically and get as soon as you get your building permit, you can go and start building. A zoning permit, as soon as you get your zoning permit, you have to wait 15 days before you start. So can be a trip up for projects, especially ones where they might be mid-project and say, oh, we realized something needed to change. Building permits are able to be a lot more nimble on that subject.
Yeah, because I don't see a real need to have a zoning permit for a window change at all. you know, the building permit, there are some real issues there
Yep.
because there's some real code issues
Right. And again,
around windows and
a year ago, we didn't have building codes applying to single and two family homes. Now we do.
well, and
Or sorry,
there's
owner occupied single family homes is what we didn't do a year ago.
right, but there's different kinds of codes that still we don't enforce. So, and windows are a big piece of that, but it's going to be one of the more controversial ones. So, I'm not going to get into that.
Well, excuse me, Michael. It seems like we have a fair number of people who would be in favor of removing that.
Yes.
Is everyone?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you need a motion or is that?
Why don't you do it as a straw poll for the moment?
Okay.
And then you can do one big motion.
Okay.
Um,
It seems like most people were in favor of removing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
We get a question if you want.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did not see Ryan. Well, actually, hold on one sec, Ryan. Sorry. I think that got us through everything that you had listed there.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. Go ahead, Ryan. So you still got to state your name. We know who you are, but you got to tell us.
Ryan Doyle. I agree. I think it's great if people increase the size of their windows. We talk about fenestration a lot in the way that relates structures to the street and making a place look friendly. But I do want to play devil's advocate for a minute and give you a real example. In St. Albans, we have a design advisory board. Yeah, I said that correctly. Design advisory board. And a building came up within that area and they wanted to take out a window entirely. They were remodeling the inside. And so these front facing windows were going to disappear because a kitchen was going to go in and there would be cupboards there. That makes a house look very strange and kind of sketchy. And so we required them to put in fake windows, basically. So it still has the appearance of a normal house, even though directly behind the windows is just solid insulated wall and then kitchen cupboards. And so I wonder, depending on how that interplays with these two types of permits, if removal of fenestration might then warrant some type of approval or accommodation for the appearance of fenestration, just for discussion.
That seems strange not to have windows on the bottom of the house, but sorry, go ahead, Helen.
No, it does, unless the building is of historic significance, and then you can't take out windows, I don't believe. And it probably did look weird.
Yeah. I would.
I don't know if that's an issue so much. I mean, I'm thinking of the houses in St. Albans a lot of them are very different than the housing stock in
Here.
South Burlington.
Yeah, does the
Sorry, go ahead.
would the historic preservation cover?
Oh, I'm sure they wouldn't allow
Sure,
it.
that would,
Yes,
that would
yeah.
certainly cover it.
Yeah.
So any historic house you wouldn't
Right.
be allowed to.
But we have
like
very
that.
few of them, whereas
I mean,
St.
you
Albans
could-
probably is a
I mean,
ton.
the measure that you referred to, that's the way you would do it historically. It might be a blanked off window, but it's still, the opening still is there.
Still there. I would still be in favor of removing that, but
Before you move on to action,
Yeah.
we discovered that there was an audio issue going on earlier, where while the recording worked fine, the those who were online were not hearing an earlier part of the meeting. It was only Elizabeth and our minute taker.
I think it's just Elizabeth.
But previously it was our minute taker also. She told me she couldn't hear anything when
Oh.
she left the meeting.
Okay.
So I think that just for completely following the letter of the law, if you could redo your public hearing, I think that would be just crossing your I's and dotting your T's and not
We
ever
could
being challenged on it.
reopen it.
Reopen it.
Right.
Okay.
And
So
Oh,
move
okay.
to reopen the public hearing.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Elizabeth, is there anything you'd like to share in the hearing? She's got her hand raised. Just a minute. Okay, go ahead, Elizabeth.
Yeah, sorry, you have to unmute me. Yes, could you repeat everything you said for the last 30 minutes? That was,
Happily.
yeah,
Surely.
no,
It's the beginning.
I'm kidding, but
Verbatim.
Yeah.
We did it.
yeah, I'm glad I'm the only one on, and I will re-listen to the first 30 minutes of the tape, but just maybe for Kelsey and Paul, I'm not sure what the better way would have been to notify you, because I've been contacting people for the last half hour, and I think it was just notice, but thank you for turning it back on. I'll continue to listen.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thanks, sorry.
Okay.
All right.
So now you can take a motion to close the hearing.
Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Hearing
And I'll
none.
second it.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right. If you're ready, Kelsey has a. Oh well, you have not had a discussion. Is there? When you're ready, Kelsey has a
Yeah.
motion.
I
for
mean, do we have any other comments, concerns, questions on the amendments? The LDRs? No.
Minor typos.
Oh, I did have one comment.
Yeah. Go ahead.
This isn't content related, but at the last meeting we did talk about having some sort of public forward information distributed. And I keep getting reminded as I read Facebook pages that people make comments that are really inaccurate. And so it just reminds me how important it is to have, decisions, basically major decisions like this summarized in several different public forums so that people understand changes. Because I saw something just today that was rather disturbing, that people had no clue about the changes involving ADUs, about site requirements, setbacks, none of that stuff. I mean, total unawareness of these things. And I think, we got to make a little bit more effort to get that information out to the public.
I mean, it is all on the website.
Well, damn it, if people don't even know, I mean,
No, I know.
it's good to have something that directs people to the website.
Appreciate the feedback. We'll make sure that as we go through the next stages of this, that we're directing folks through our newsletter that goes to several thousand. I would say more than half of all the residents. I think in our whole
Which it was
community.
included in.
So it was included.
It was included.
We'll do that again.
We have plain language spotlights for each of these amendments on our posted on our website. So if you saw either in the other paper or on the South Burlington City News, you would know to go to that website if you were interested to go to the website. And then there's plain language descriptions of everything. So there have been some things that people you can lead somebody horse to water. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Well, the city news is especially helpful because the links can be right there and you can go right to it.
Well, it's tricky because zoning is not a lot of people's bedtime reading, and until it's immediately next to them, right? So,
changes in permitting requirements, though.
Yeah.
Changes in site requirements.
Read the LDRs, go to bed.
Basic stuff like that. I think people, might take a little bit of notice of that, particularly if they have some plans in the future.
Yeah.
And also apparently the same person had no clue about the laws pertaining to short-term rentals. So that's another one that could be repeated occasionally because people are totally clueless.
You could invite them to a planning commission meeting.
I actually just told them to call planning and zoning.
That's right.
That's not really helping me.
They would give them a lot
All right.
easier
Yeah.
somebody could explain their exact question.
I think the reality, though, is people don't know these things until they want to change something. And then they run into, oh, I can't do that, or there's a rule about that. And that's a real challenge in terms of educating the entire population on planning and zoning rules, just in case they ever want to do something.
I think you're absolutely right. You don't hear from them until it affects them.
Exactly.
Then you hear from them.
Yes, yeah. And I'm I mean, I think we can reach out, we can do as much as we can, but the reality is there's some personal responsibility about learning stuff as well.
And there's case studies are always where people learn things too. It's just
Mhm.
like, oh, my neighbor had this issue come up.
Right.
That's when they
So Kelsey, you had some language. for-
Yes. So I'm just going to read the sort of draft motion that I wrote. I move to approve the draft amendments to the South Burlington Land Development Regulations numbered LDR 2601 through LDR 2608 with the amendments recommended by staff in this meeting's packet and as discussed in this meeting, and to submit them alongside the previously approved Planning Commission reports to City Council.
Sounds good. I'll move that.
If I may, only change I would like to make to that is if we could split out 2601, the bedrock, because I'm not comfortable with that language and plan on voting against that. But I'm perfectly happy to vote in favor of everything else. So I can either vote against the whole package or we can split that one out.
We had. I'm sorry. Go
Yeah, as you know, I voted against the package at the last meeting, and the reason for my doing so was exactly what John has just said. I didn't think about separating it out, but
Let's split it
if
out.
it's not, if it's, I'll
So,
have to do the same.
Chris-
I'd like to vote for the package, but not for 2601.
So procedurally, just because you're in a formal action here, it's been moved as a whole thing. No further action happens unless it's seconded, or Helen can change her
Oh,
motion.
I'll take that back. And I'm happy to separate that out so you can vote separately.
So we would take out LDR 2601 and not take any action on it.
Well, so that why don't you?
No,
so that's a
we would
separate thing.
take
Just
action
taking it
later.
out is
Yeah.
its own action.
Okay.
So
Right.
what I hear is that your motion is as read by Kelsey, but for LDR 2602 through 2608.
Precisely.
Aren't you postponing 2606?
Those are there's parts of 2606 or still moving forward.
Okay.
That's the getting rid of the zoning permits that you just talked about. So
Okay.
part of it is still in.
All right. So,
I'm amenable to that. That's a friendly
I'm sorry.
amendment.
We would be going 2602 through 2608.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that's been moved. You
Okay.
need a second.
Do I have a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So now you have a couple of choices as a commission. You could choose to take a vote on the second one. You have two commissioners who are not here tonight. Any action needs 4 votes in order to move forward.
I would.
Or you could choose not to take action and take it up at a future meeting.
I would say we would be better served to wait until we have the full commission to take action on that LDR.
I would agree because
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
support it and then it would fail.
So, do we need a motion to? No.
Mm.
Okay.
Nope,
So
you're
we-
just not
we-
taking
we-
action on that one.
Okay.
Fine.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. So we will reserve action on that till we have a full commission.
I can weigh in.
So we need a vote on.
What's that?
Oh, we did.
No, we do
No?
not. No, we did. We passed 02 through 08 unanimously.
Okay.
All right. And then, so that brings us to, Paul, you had,
So just as a very quick clarification, I think you said full commission. We will not have a full commission until August based on our previous attendance. July 14th, you are not here, Duncan, and July 28th, Donna is not here and potentially not John. So are you putting it, taking no action and holding it indefinitely or intending to?
I would propose we vote on it when we have a full commission.
Okay.
meeting, which would be the first meeting in August, you said?
Likely, as
okay,
far as
yeah,
I know.
Yeah, I would prefer to wait till we have a full commission to vote on that.
Okay.
Does everyone agree with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that
Okay.
makes sense.
Okay. Well, thank you for all of your work on these amendments. This is another big set of work that you've just completed, which is reestablishing EV standards, making sure that we're advancing what we thought we were advancing a couple of years ago, moving ourselves towards Tier 1A status, being nimble in terms of adaptive reuse from some existing buildings to allow for housing to exist, adjusting for some new things like data centers.
Adjusting for having building permits apply to more things, so then zoning permits become less necessary,
Right.
and streamlining permitting for people who are trying to improve their homes.
So we often, we have so many things going on in our community that we never really take a moment to say congratulations on a lot of work, but that is a huge amount of work of continuing to move the policy of the city forward.
Thank you to staff for doing the heavy lifting.
I want to point out that I think we have a wonderful staff that really is supporting, listens to us, and for the most part, responded with language that the majority can support, and that's hard to do. So I respect that and appreciate that, because I think that's how we move forward so well. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the
For all the expert words.
the only other thing I wanted to mention is that we moved a little bit towards having fewer warnings of amendments and holding things for a few months. Like some of these things, like our adaptive reuse, were primarily discussed in November and December, and I think it streamlines things and clarifies things, and to Donna's previous point, makes things more transparent for members of the public and our development community and our development review staff as well. So just, I know keeping everything in your mind over 6 to 8 months is a different task than dealing with it for a few meetings and then warning a hearing and moving on. So I'm excited about still doing this kind of process moving forward, where we're not warning multiple hearings a year. We're kind of collecting things, barring urgency for other reasons. But from my perspective, it's gone really well, and I hope it's been a good experience for the commission.
Okay, so shifting gears a little bit, we're going to talk about something that is largely non-regulatory for a little bit. So we've been talking with you quite a bit for the last year on the subject of Tier 1A status. I'm not going to mention those words again, to my knowledge, in this meeting. But the same bill also completely re-envisioned the downtown program for the state. This has been something that was also in the works for several years with the legislature. There was several working groups of dozens and dozens of people working on it to reimagine the fundamental subject of how do we support and invigorate the state's villages, downtowns, and emerging downtowns. There are very few states in the country that are even attempting to do this kind of thing, so this is pretty neat. The state program that has existed was built over a 20-year period and has 5 different designations. There was a village designation, a downtown designation, a new town center designation, a neighborhood designation, and a growth center designation. And depending on which ones of those you had, you could also potentially get a TIF. They were built independently of one another and all with laudable goals, but never connected to one another, and never sort of built in a way that you could ever evolve, grow from one to the next, and never really thoughtfully connected in terms of why do you get this benefit for being this one, or what is the responsibility to on the community to apply for this one. They're developed totally independently. So this completely reimagines it and builds it as a singular structure. The connecting point to the words that I said I wasn't going to say again tonight is that it is founded in the same regional plan future land use map. So regional plan future land use maps under state law have these, I think, 11 total categories that must be applied statewide. And the methodology by which they're applied is the same across the state. So ultimately what we get out of this whole thing as a state is what looks like one big statewide map using these 11 categories. The centers program, which is what we're going to be focusing on today, is eligible in what are now called downtown centers and village centers. And then there's also a neighborhood program which gets some benefits, and we're not going to really focus on too much. They're automatically given to growth areas and village areas. Essentially, all of the areas other than the truly like industrial park areas that are not rural. So regional future land use map, you've seen this multiple times at this point. You've been looking at it from the regulatory angle. The eligible areas for the centers are the deep purple that is right here in city center, and the sort of medium purple that's along Shelburne Road. You'll see some of our other nearby communities, Burlington Center, centered around the downtown and Pine Street, Winooski Center, where they elected to have it also include their two major routes. And then if you look in this very tiny map around the whole region, there's a bunch of different villages and downtowns. One thing I know we talked about a few months ago was that the feedback from the State Land Use Review Board was to think larger in terms of these downtowns than we had previously been thinking. So a lot of the legislation for the old programs was focused on creating a very small geography. So the applications would be made to the state's downtown board, and it was really about only the mixed-use commercial areas, only the historic areas, and in the case of a place like South Burlington, where we had new town centers, there was a physical acreage cap. That's reimagined completely in this program, where the future land use maps are really thinking about the future, not just the past. And so the Land Use Review Board, when they were giving feedback, wanted to make sure that areas that are essentially connected to these villages and downtowns are part of it. And so some of the feedback in South Burlington was the high school, middle school complex should be considered part of the downtown. So we took that feedback and expanded it down to there, and then came sort of with a logical area for the Barrett Street neighborhood as well. And then on the Shelburne Road side, connecting not just the original core that we had talked about, but also the Orchards neighborhood, which is really next to it, and the park that serves the Orchards neighborhood in Szymanski Park. So that was why those were shown. It doesn't have a regulatory implication, and on the non-regulatory side, it's really just benefits that it opens up to us, not responsibilities on us. So there's no downside to being a slightly larger area. So previously, these disconnected villages, new town centers, downtowns, growth centers, etc. The new program creates a center, and then there's steps, like in a ladder that you can go up. Villages start as a step one, and some pre-existing designations like downtowns and new town centers start as a step two. You automatically get slotted in there. So that's where we will land in some form of this area being considered a step one and this area being considered a step two. We will then be potentially able to expand or go up the ladder in one or both of these in the future to get additional benefits if we meet the criteria and do our homework. There's a lot in here, but a couple of key ones that I wanted to flag for you. Step three is obviously the one that gets the most benefits out of it. You have to have done a lot, and we'll talk about it in a minute about what those are. But a couple of the really big things that a community can get out of being a step three is National Main Street America accreditation eligibility. That is something that our new downtown organization, SB3C, is really excited about. It brings access to Main Street America funds to help support their work of continuing to make this a thriving downtown area. That's our first really big one that is that the community's that city council is excited about. We've talked about them last week and that the downtown group is excited about. Some of these other ones we're going to continue to explore and what they present as opportunities, prioritization of state office building development if and when that comes around, state tax reallocation funding, which provides some opportunities in there, and a whole bunch of other tools. I'm further hopeful that as these programs continue to evolve, that this benefit list may grow as well, because it'll provide more opportunities for the state to say, how do we target our funds into our downtowns? And so to the extent that we are as far along or far up these step ladders as we can be, gives us more opportunities.
What's the downtown and village tax credit?
So that is mostly for historic buildings. So it's tax credits. It's been very successful in some of our older downtowns of providing tax credits, for example, to rehabilitate the upper stories of some Main Street buildings to turn them into housing. It's very expensive to do that, and so getting tax credits on it has been one of the more successful programs of getting generational upgrade in those older buildings. I don't think we're going to get as many of those, but because we don't have as many historic buildings, but you never know.
Just real quick, the sales tax reallocation, is that similar to the local option, or is that?
Yes, and I would be happy to have Jesse give me a more thorough description of what that one is. It is not additional taxes. It's something to do with the proportion that is allocated to the state versus the local. Even the local has a portion that goes to the state as an administrative fee, so it has to do with that. It's a little technical, so I'm going to have to give you more information on it at your next meeting.
The end result being that we would keep more here.
Yes, it is more beneficial to us. Yes.
Okay.
So requirements. Initial designations we get slotted in, so city center becomes a step 2 automatically. Shelburne Road becomes a step 1 automatically. In order to move up the steps and specifically to step 3, communities have to show they have a lot of forward-looking planning. We have done most of these things, showing that we have water and sewer capacity, showing that we have a downtown organization, showing that we have permanent regulations, that we have a capital improvement plan, all these kinds of things. The one that's a little bit complex for us, and it's really only complex in terms of what the geography is going to be, is communities need to demonstrate that they have historic preservation regulations. However, new town centers that were previously approved, such as City Center, are exempt from that standard. So what that likely means is that I showed that larger geography for City Center. Initially, at least, it is likely that the eligible area for the step 3 will be the smaller geography of our old Newtown Center, which is the core of our downtown anyway. Includes Market Street, the U-Mall, the south side of Williston Road, all of San Remo Drive, which is really where our focus has been regardless, but that is one sort of interesting quirk in the legislation. And then it's not on our current list, but in the future, the city would be, as you start in on your Shelburne Road project, we would be eligible likely to have Shelburne Road move from a step 1 to a step 2. We would need to demonstrate that it is anchored by a historic settlement, of which, while there's not a lot, there actually are several properties that are listed on the state register along the Shelburne Road corridor. So we'd have some homework to do there. And then further into the future, we could look into this subject of historic preservation standards and what the pros and cons associated with that. There's not anything on this year's board plan to do that, but just thinking to the future as to how we might want to make use of these programs. Already described about our geographies and what we'd be able to step into. And then this just kind of maps out what I was talking about where everybody slots in. Our goal for the community that we talked about with the City Council last month is to the eligibility to apply to go up the steps opens when the regional plan is adopted, which is the same time frame that the Tier 1A eligibility opens. Our goal is by the end of this summer to have started the application process to move the core of city center up to a step 3 as well, so that we can start to take advantage of all those benefits. We have already met with the state to go through what the requirements are. We're working with Sophia Babbitt from the SB3C downtown group on some of the pieces that they need to demonstrate. So we feel like we're well positioned for this and exciting next step with City Center.
Great.
That's where we're at.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So is ours new? I mean, this is the new town center.
Yes.
So I'm surprised that legacy goes before it, because this was like. I'm sorry. I'm interested in why our new town center that used to be like a racetrack or something is a legacy new
It's sort
town
of
center. I mean, I get it in a town where they start working on the center of town, and it is like a new town, but there are buildings that were already there.
Right. So I think that the short answer to your question is legislative compromise. The longer answer to your question is there are 3 new town centers, which is this purple line that's in the middle here in the state, us, Colchester, and Berlin. And the legislature was not prepared to expand the benefits of step 3 to all sorts of new places around the state, but they wanted to acknowledge all the hard work that has happened in those 3 communities. And so the legislative compromise was to say those who received this designation prior to 2023 get the new benefits.
Right. And the word legacy is not necessarily meaning that it has been a downtown or a town area or something for a legacy like amount of time. It's just the old system. It's a legacy because it's a remnant of the old system.
Okay. But the unfortunate side effect of that is that we don't get to claim that for Shelburne Road because we never had a new town center designation along Shelburne Road, because under the old program you could only have one in your community. Mm-hmm. So there is legislative work to do in the future, but in the meantime we've got lots of things that we can still advance, and we're advancing all of them.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
That's what we got.
Yeah, that's good stuff. All right. Other business? We did the other business. We did the minutes. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Run a tight
unless hearing otherwise,
ship,
we are adjourned.
Thank you all for
Thank you for all of your hard work.
Thank you. And I'm happy with my replacement.
Have you heard of
have you met
Megan Emery? Have you met? Have you met Megan Emery?
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Helen. It's been great.
So our next meeting.